Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Noah Meagher, alongside good friend and co-host Mr. Ryan Anderson. Tonight we'll be covering the Santa Anita Late Pick 5 for Saturday 10/19. A little bit of a down week this week, but we still got some decent racing action. Got some Keeneland this week, got some Santa Anita we'll be covering for you guys here in a little bit. And then next week we started getting into our Breeders' Cup stuff. Very excited for that. I know Ryan's very excited. Obviously, Del Mar guy. So, Ryan, how we doing?
I'm doing great. You mentioned it. Maybe not, a jam-packed stake schedule this week, but the good thing about a card at Santa Anita and a card pretty much anywhere that we will be handicapping, there's always a late pick 5. So, that means there's work to do and there's money to be made. So,
of course, us degenerates like you and I, of course, we're going to find a pick 5 regardless of what kind of talent's on the card. And it's a good time to build some bankroll for first weekend in November. Before we get into the pick 5 sequence, we'll go ahead and do some peripherals. Of course, listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Like I said, Keeneland going on so far. We got those power picks up and running, doing well. We did really well first weekend. Last weekend was okay. I know I had not to toot my own horn, but I had a very successful Sunday with a nice 27-1 shot that I put out on Twitter. So I was very fortunate. I felt like I was a little due at that point. Hopefully I can still keep it rolling into the first weekend in November because that's a little more important. Speaking of the first weekend in November, our power picks are just been released for the Breeders' Cup. Going to be, I think, like 25 pages of a lot of great information. Same thing as we did last year. Of course, we're going to have all of our hosts and co-hosts contributing, and along with Ryan now that he is part of our family. So make sure you go to our website to check that out. Pete Visco does a great job, makes that really easy. You can go ahead and just click on that top blue banner right there. Like I said, a lot of pages. Got 2 days of excellent racing, of course. We're going to have a lot of great coverage. Starting next week, I believe you and I, Ryan, are going to be doing a track profiles type of show, trying to get maybe some Del Mar people on. It'll be interesting. I think I'm trying to limit the amount of the tides being on the show, but it seems like it's just going to get crept in anyways.
Yeah, it might creep on in. Pardon me for laughing. I saw Katie's comment in the chat. Ryan, do you film in a shed? Just asking. I'm not in a shed. The house I live in has a weird added-on sunroom, so that's the room I'm in. Just because it's the most quiet in the body of the house. I have my dog in there, and she loves squeaky toys and whatever else goes on. So that was pretty funny. I'm not in a shed. I am in a room. There's a door. That's the outside. But the tides are going to make their way probably into some sort of conversation as they always do. But as long as you're playing speed, that'll basically get you through a lot. But I'm looking forward to getting some Del Mar guests on. Yeah,
that'll be a little bit of a default. Just if you don't have an opinion, just play speed. Speaking of locations, Katie's asking about my new location. Yes, finally getting a little bit of a more permanent situation here. I've got some stuff that I hung up in the background, and I've got a camera that I normally set up on the other screen here, but unfortunately it's not cooperating. It was a little iffy on last week's show. I just decided to go with the laptop camera, but hopefully you can kind of catch a little bit of what I've got back there. Continue with administrative stuff. Got our regular power picks, of course, 2 full tracks every Saturday, $15.99. Of course, you can find that on our website, which is right here, hhhracingpodcast.com. I think that's everything that we have to go through. Ryan, maybe you should tout yourself a little bit with the upcoming shows that you got over at Get Bucked. Let us hear about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Catch us tomorrow. That's me and Jackson. We'll go live probably a little after Thursday Night Football kicks off. Just, talking ponies as we normally do. I think we're going to be doing a Keeneland sequence tomorrow for Saturday on the show. So be sure to tune in for that. And then we will be teasing the Breeders' Cup shows that I'll have going on the Gallop Outs YouTube channel. I'll be hosting them all with my normal co-host, Jackson Muniz, and we're going to have a lineup of special guests. We're looking at about, I think, 12 guests for the 4 shows that we're going to do. We'll go Monday, Tuesday, each of the next 2 weeks leading up to Breeders' Cup. And then, of course, I got PHP on the Wednesday. So we're looking at, a good, 6, 7, 8 shows before we get to Breeders' Cup. So it's that time of year. I love it.
Yeah, looking forward to a lot of great content over there. We're gonna have a lot of great content over here. So make sure you like and subscribe at both places so you don't miss out a lot of information that we're gonna be giving out. With that being said, we're gonna go ahead and get things started off with this interesting late pick 5 sequence at Santa Anita, starting with race 5, which is a 1 mile affair on the main track for older boys. It is a 16 claimer, got a field of 7, morning line favorite. I don't know. This might be a tough one. I would say maybe either the 2 joint venture or the 3 Zimba Warrior. Got the picks on the bottom of the screen. I'm going 5-3-2. Ryan's going 3-6-2. Ryan going with 3 Zimba Warrior. Maldonado and Hess, who ran a really nice race 2 back. Not quite what he wanted last time, but maybe he can show what he did over in August.
Yeah, I like this 2 races at Del Mar. Those are strong efforts. They were claim 8 and claim 12, but I think that last time the jump up over double and claiming price to the claim 25, I think he was just kind of out of his depth in there. I think this slight drop back down to 16 he's gonna meet his friends a little bit in here. I'm thinking he's gonna sit off the 2 set a pretty slow pace. I'm sure we'll talk about that horse in a bit here, but I like the projected trip that I see for Zimba Warrior with Maldonado on board. I like the Maldonado and Hess combination. They're always a good duo, and Hess knows when to use Edwin. We see in the time form pace projector, they have the 3 sitting, the kind of pocket trip as they go around, and I'd be perfectly fine with that too. Zimba Warrior's shown enough tactical ability that he can close from just off of it, or he can kind of adjust to the race flow as needed. So that took me to Zimba Warrior on top. The class drop back down to claim 16. I think he just kind of meets his buddies.
Yeah, and I think according to the time frame, that's a great spot. Like you said, maybe just a little over his head in that race, although he was 3-1, so he was backed quite a bit by the public. Maybe just didn't class up to that field. This seems like the type of field that he'll get along with. And if he's going to sit that great trip like it projects, I think he's one you certainly have to use. You've got the 6 in second. The 6 is Vanzi, I believe, for Cedillo and Glatt. He's another one that's just kind of been bouncing around, claiming company. Finally got a win with a 68 buyer last time.
Yeah, the buyer obviously a little bit light, class level a little bit light. Excuse me, but I like the effort at Santa Anita way back. Oh, sorry, nope, that's the wrong one. I like the effort last time out. At the claim 10 level at Santa Anita. Oh yeah, sorry. I'm all over the place.
No, you're good.
I like the effort at Santa Anita last time out. Cedillo sticks. I like Cedillo going 2 turns on the dirt. It's something he's really good at, especially when he's forward. So he knows his horse well. Clearly, as he got through this level, got to the winner's circle last time out on this horse. A slight step up, but I think with the way that he drew off last time, it looks strong enough that I think this horse could come right back. Obviously, Glatt, 23% off the win last out. Those are really strong numbers. 13% when Cedillo hops aboard. You see just the 72-cent ROI, which isn't the strongest, but I think it's not going to take a whole lot to beat this level. And this horse coming off a win, he's in good form. So that's enough for me.
Yeah, certainly one to consider. I guess, like you said, maybe the low buyer is a bit of a concern, but it just with these lower level fields, it just seems like one can beat some of the others on any day of the week. It just kind of depends on who shows up. Always have to pay attention to Glatt. With the 24 runners that he's had so far, he's got 5 to the winner's circle, and he's got over half of them in the money. So doing well, and Glatt is certainly one to back, especially with horses that got the job done last time. I'm going just to the inside with the 5, stopping a tray for Anthony Saavedra. Claimed this 4-year-old, 2 back from Val Brinkerhoff, was favored in that race that Zimba Warrior ended up getting the job done in. Last time, I think it just seemed like that field just kind of ran around the track. Nobody was really doing a ton of running. I know they went sub 46 for the half mile, but we know how that Del Mar track was. Very speed favoring. He's got a little more of a tactical style where he can sit and maybe go by in a stretch. Horse that likes Santa Anita, and the thing I'm kind of keen on is there's a lot of 6 and 7-year-olds in here. This horse is only 4. I know he's run 21 times, but there's still, some room for improvement. That was the first time in the Saavedra barn, so maybe an excuse you can give there. And then again, I know it's 16 to 16. It's an even claiming movement. But I just feel like he's faced better than this. Trusty Rusty is an okay horse. I don't remember who trains him, but I just think he's going to sit a similar trip to the 3. That's why I got 5-3 in the top 2. I'm just hoping that the pace kind of heats up in this race here, which we can talk about a little bit with the 2, who, like you mentioned earlier, joint venture with Ricky Gonzalez, Phil D'Amato. Popped the 84 Buyer last time, but again, kind of got everything his own way. Don't know if that's going to happen on Saturday.
Yeah, I don't think so, but I think the intentions are still clear, especially with Ricky sticking aboard here. Ricky loves to go to the lead, especially, when he rides for D'Amato. So I think that shows a bit of intention. Should just kind of shoot out and go for the lead. I used him in third, as did you. I used him in third because I think if, for whatever reason, if nobody else goes, if it's just a bunch of older horses, it's a claim 16. If it happens to be his day and he gets comfortable out there, he's shown the ability to finish it off, and he got a respectable Buyer last time out. But in the event that another speed goes with him, I don't know that he's going to be able to hang on late. Again, that's kind of led to why I couldn't pick him on top. But I think this horse, you want to be forward in a race like this, going dirt, going 2 turns out on the West Coast. That's normally a good place to be. So that was enough. And face is a little bit tougher, but we'll see. Maybe he gets comfortable.
Yeah. A little bit of what I mentioned earlier. I mean, if a lot of times we see, it's supposed to be a hot pace. There's supposed to be a couple horses that, are on the lead. And then you get a horse that doesn't break, or somebody that just, doesn't intend on, getting to the lead. Ricky Gonzalez is going to do that. So, this horse is most likely going to be on the lead. It looks like the 1 is not all that fast. So he should just be able to get to the rail, and then kind of go from there, is the thought. But we'll go ahead and move on for the audio listeners. I'm 5-3-2 and Ryan is 3-6-2. We will move on to race 6, but before that, let's get a comment. Oh boy, of course it had to come up. It had to come up. Last time I checked, Santa Anita isn't close enough to be even remotely affected by tides.
No, it's hotter than everything out there.
Yeah, is it hot?
It was 2 weeks ago when I went up. It was brutal. I was surprised. I thought I was gonna, walk into some nice, temperate weather, but it was like 90 and humid, and oh man, it was a mess. But no tides to worry about. Maybe some, winds coming down off the San Gabriel Mountains, but that's TBD whether that affects how the horses run. Maybe it pushed Miramati to the finish line last week. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if Miramati was able to get the job done, there's no way that the horse himself. There had to be some kind of external factor that made that happen.
I will say I'm happy he did that at Santa Anita so Miramati could give the call. That at least was fitting before he goes and runs in some grade 3 and probably gets second.
Yeah, he probably will. Maybe a rabbit for the Classic, as we jokingly mentioned. We'll move on to race 6 here. Race 6 is 6 furlongs on the turf for maiden 50,000 for 3-year-olds and up. The boys, morning line favorite. I am going to maybe say the 9 Crazy Cavalier for Rispoli and Baltus. A lot of different ways you can go in this race. Big field of 11. I got the picks down on the bottom of the screen. I'm going 1-9-2. Ryan going 9-10-2. Hopefully, I don't know if you imagine this, Ryan. Hopefully, you don't get that morning line price on the 9, just because it is a pretty wide open race in here. But why don't you go ahead and why don't you go ahead and tell us why you did like that 9?
Yeah, I think Prosper might be a morning line favorite. Could be. With that, but I think Crazy Cavalier is going to be close. Certainly once the betting opens, but either way, I chose the 9 Crazy Cavalier on top because that 6 furlong debut race is pretty much better than what all of these have done, maybe except for Prosper. And then we'll get to your rail horse, who also has some strong buyers in here. But I like that race sprinting, and that was the only time this horse has had the opportunity to do so, and it was at Santa Anita. The horse got disqualified and placed 3rd, and then for whatever reason, they stretched him out, an extra, 3 furlongs, almost 3 furlongs next time out, and stepped him up in class, and then they kept him routing at Del Mar, and those turns might just be too tight. He put in a respectable, 3/4 of a mile last time out at Del Mar, did Crazy Cavalier, but I think right now he's getting back to what he wants to do. You see Baltus is 15% on the cutback from route to sprint. He's not strong with turf sprinters, but I do like the 28% with the above $2 ROI that Rispoli and Baltus have together. So that gives me a fair amount of confidence. not too sure what, this field is made of. So I don't know that it's going to take much. And if anything, we know this horse has finished the race in first before, and by a pretty comfortable margin, to say that. So I'm hoping just getting back to what this horse maybe really wants to do is going to be what the key to victory is.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Last time in the Del Mar race, you can kind of see by the comments, had a little bit of trouble down the lane. He was also post 11 of 11, which going 2 turns at Del Mar, that's basically a death sentence at that point. Yeah. So you can kind of toss that race a little bit. One of the many droppers from maiden special rate to maiden claiming, obviously you have to pay attention to that. And then, like you said, these horses are pretty evenly matched. So I think you have to pay attention to the fact that Rispoli comes on, and you have to like the fact that when this horse technically did cross the wire first, Rispoli was on that time. So both of us like the 9. I've got the 9 in second. We'll go to the 10, Prosper, who you can quickly mention a little bit. Could be the morning line favorite, like you said, stretching out to 2 turns for the first time for Sadler.
Yeah, this horse probably is going to be the speed. If not, definitely going to be up close to it. A whopping $1.7 million purchase, and clearly has not lived up to that, as we're in for a $50,000 tag. It's too late in the day for me to want to do the math on what percent that is, but they're clearly trying to take their loss here, or cut their losses rather. But the main thing that kind of turned me on to this horse is we see pace projector has 10 is basically lone speed in here. Which does make a lot of sense, especially from the outside. I think there's going to be intention to get this horse the lead, knowing that he hasn't really successfully passed horses before. So that's probably the best way to the winner's circle, is straight out to the front. Sadler and Barrios are 20%, 220 ROI. That's not bad. They're going second off the bench here, off a quick freshening, I guess, just off since July. And then second time, off the layoff in September. But what really turned me on here was Sadler first time for a tag is something that's really strong based on by his numbers. Offering him up here, again, it's not going to take much to beat this field, and it might just be something as simple as these horses don't want to pass other horses. So, if Prosper gets out to the lead, maybe nobody wants to come catch him.
Yeah, it certainly could be. I was a little surprised when I saw the pace projector, just because I do think there are some horses that will contend. I don't know if they're as fast as Prosper is, but I certainly don't think he's necessarily going to get a breather on the front end. He's one I'm personally trying to beat a little bit in a spot like this. I've seen this horse a lot. I think I liked him quite a bit back in July when he ran the 5 furlong race and couldn't quite get past Corso's pick. It was like 30-1 for O'Neill, and it was annoying. But he's just I've seen his races enough to where I question whether he's going to, appreciate that 2 turns. I know it's always nice to see when a horse is kind of running the same thing, or running the same kind of races and just not getting the job done, but they have some talent. It's nice to see the change in a race to try to change things up a little bit. But just the style, I don't know. I think he might be too low of a price for me to take, and I do have some concerns. I'll go to the number 1. Go ahead, Ryan. You got anything to add there?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it's just, inconsequential point, but something I've never understood about this is why they haven't given him more chances on dirt, particularly going 2 turns. Like City of Light out of a Tapit mare. Yeah. Obviously, 1.7 mil, you're not dreaming of, hitting the grade 2 Del Mar mile when you pick this horse. You probably had Derby aspirations at one point, or at least hopes. So why has this horse not gotten more tries on dirt and more tries at 2 turns?
I don't know. Yeah, 1.7 mil. You think maybe they would try a couple times, but I'm no trainer, that's for sure.
No, I'm not either.
Let's go to the 1, Caribbean King, who I have on top, and I do have a little bit of a strong opinion here. I know the 0 for 14 is not something that you want, but Miramati won last weekend, so why can't this horse win? But anyway, with Caribbean King, obviously this horse has not gotten his picture taken. Even though he was a maiden, Steve Knapp, when he did have him, threw him in some optional claiming races, and he was actually favored in a couple of those races, which is pretty surprising. I just think he's faced some better. He's cutting back, and normally when you see the 0 for 14, it's something that is not super attractive, but it's a switch to Miller. I just feel like it's a little bit of a fresh start here for this 4-year-old. Obviously cutting back in distance, I do like. Attracts Fresu, which I think there's a horse in here for D'Amato, who I don't think we have in the top 3, and we probably won't be able to get to talk to. But there's a horse here in this race for D'Amato who I think is a little interesting and maybe a player, but Fresu decides to go here instead of there. I don't know. I just have a little weird feeling. Down on the res, going to save some ground. Should be a decent price just because of the 0 for 14. Peter Miller is pretty good. First time off the trainer switch. I know he's not great with Fresu, but Fresu definitely one to consider in a race, again, where these horses are very evenly matched. And one that I'll certainly be keying in on when I play some horizontals, maybe the Turf Pick 3, even though we won't be able to cover race 4 in this episode. But certainly one I'm interested in. Ryan, you and I both have the 2 and 3rd, which is horse for Diego Herrera and Red Hot Papa Padromo.
Yeah, that was the first note I have is Georgie. And first time starters, debut maiden claiming. He's 3 for 9, $5.02 ROI. That's fantastic. With first time starters, he's 13% with a 283 ROI. Those are really strong numbers. I think debuting and maiden claiming is kind of what you want to look for him, because maiden special weight tends to be a little tough for the type of horses that he gets for most of the time. No disrespect to his horses, but a lot of times you debut it on dirt, you get you run into some Baffert monster that ends up running in stakes races the next 10 races of his life. So Georgie debuting on turf, going this distance, I like it. You have a really extensive work tab coming in, so this horse should have some foundation to him. Not a whole lot of speed, but it looks like this horse has some ability. You see about 4 works back, 3 works back. Those are some decent ones. Been firing off workouts every 7 days, so I like to see that kind of stability and that kind of routine foundation that's telling me everything's going right. So this is a horse I wanted to pick in 3rd. Nothing crazy with the 5%, 71-cent ROI together, but again, that's something I'm willing to kind of toss here. Georgie, when he gets hot, he gets rolling. I believe I don't remember if it was you or Jackson, but when he started the meet off cold at Del Mar, I was like, this happens almost every year. Mm-hmm. Last half of the meet, he's just going to start rolling, and then he takes that kind of into Santa Anita, and then he tends to maybe cool off a little bit, but then he'll find he's a very hot and cold trainer. He's the Rudy Rodriguez of the West Coast. So everything's pointing towards picking this horse. You might get a decent price as well.
Yeah, I am. Tell you what, if I'm playing a pick 5 or a Turf Pick 3, I am certainly using this horse. I mean, the 11 for 29 just completely sticks out like a sore thumb. Obviously, we don't know if this horse can run, but there is a little. I did some research. There is a little turf breeding on the dam side. It's Caraconti, who's normally pretty good with his progeny on the turf. Rockingham Ranch and Slam Dunk. I would be a little more concerned about the 50,000 if they paid a little more for him, but it's only 47,000. It looks like a reasonable spot to kind of put him in, maybe to get the job done first out. Diego Herrera is a guy who normally will ride for Papa Padromo, even though he's 2 for 26, somebody that's very capable. And you should get a decent price. I mean, I know it was, I don't remember if it was Saturday or Sunday, but there was a Papa Padromo horse that was like 0 for 8 or 0 for 9. It was a 7 horse. It was a gray, and I think it was like 13-1. Didn't really look like he had much of a chance on paper, and just breaks out of the gate, opens up by 4 or 5, and just never looks back. So, I mean, if you get horses that look like that, certainly this first time starter is definitely one to take a look at. I'm going 1-9-2. Ryan going 9-10-2. We'll go ahead and move on to race 7 here as I switch the screen over. There we go. Race 7 is quite a doozy. Race 7, 32,000 maiden claimer, 5 1/2 furlongs on the main track for 2-year-old fillies. A interesting field of 8. Morning line favorite, I have absolutely no idea. This is quite a doozy. Obviously, these PPs haven't been out for very long, but if you have a chance to handicap this race for any of the audience watching, test your handicapping skills. This is certainly a test to see if you are able to pick one from the mush. That is for sure. I'm going 5, 6, 7. Ryan's going 6, 7, 4. So somehow we ended up pretty similar. Ryan's going with the 6, Mujer de Oro for Tyler Bays and Jorge Parabon.
Yeah, I mean, just start off. I have no idea. All these horses could be 9-2 on the morning line, and I don't know who I would bet still. I'm certainly horizontal. I don't know what I want to do in this race yet. But in terms of top picks, which we're talking about right now, I did like the 6, I guess. Speed versus slightly better. Depends how you look at those state bred maiden 50s. Second time out should be better with some experience. I mean, Tyler Bays is pretty decent at getting some, 2-year-old fillies to maybe relax a little bit. This horse I feel like might want turf. I haven't done too much digging on the pedigrees here, but obviously only cost $5,000 at the sale, so it can't be anything too crazy. We see it's a Calbred. I like the speed first time out. That at least shows me something. And then that coupled with this trainer kind of had the best stats in terms of 2-year-olds and maiden second time starters with 21% 2-year-olds, 228 ROI. We got 13% with the 293 ROI for maiden second time starters. You have almost a $2 ROI on dirt and 24% in maiden claiming. So that was enough. It's one of those kind of play the trainer, almost like those early 2-year-old baby races at Keeneland where you just got to kind of play those trainer stats. This is one of those races because there's just not much in terms of form to go off of.
Yeah, I agree with basically everything you said, and there's not really much to say. I think Parabon's one of those where he's pretty good with the Calbred 2-year-old, especially with the fillies. It seems like I know he's 0 for 5, but when you get in these Calbred races, he's one you can kind of rely on as much as you can, rely on a horse in a race like this. But like you said, I know she was 47-1 in that race, but there's some kind of angle you got to find here, and there's a little bit of a speed and fade angle here. She broke well. She was in the 2-hole. I believe that 28 buyer might be the second or third highest in this group. So that's an angle to look at. A little turfy maybe on the dam side, like you said. But one to consider Tri-Car Stables is one of Jorge Parabon's, I guess, top clients or ones that he uses the most. I've got the 6 in a second. Obviously, you got the 6 on top. I'll let you talk about this horse, who I know for sure has the buyer top in the field with a 37. That's for Welfin Orantes and Richard Baltas.
Yeah, first time out, did bump a little bit. I guess you could say lost their path, as it says in the running line. Just watching it back, was placed 4th via DQ, so there was something going on for sure. I believe the second place, I think it's just Rapid. I forget that horse's full name. But either way, yeah, this horse, it was about 13-1 on debut. Not much to, write home about or anything like that. You see Baltas is 0 for 13 with second-time starters. But we mentioned this horse is has the top buyer speed figure in here at a whopping 37. So you really got to look at that and feel super confident. Yeah. But again, this is another one, second time out, maybe just going to get some experience, got some dirt in the face, had some trouble that first time out, going to get a cleaner trip here, breaking from almost the far outside. Hoping for a little more speed. They got the Bug Boy on, so that's a little bit of a lighter ride as they go around. So just hoping that kind of helps things out.
Yeah. Welfin Orantes was one during the Del Mar meet where I was avoiding him as much as I could. He's starting to come around a little bit. Some of his rides that I've seen recently are a little bit better and a little more preferred for me, at least for the horses that I've liked of his. Obviously, second timer could improve. Some of these in here definitely could improve. Hopefully we see a buyer better than 37 in this race for our sake. But yeah, Venice 5, the 7 is one to consider. I've got her in third. My Catherine Rose, who I have I guess a slight opinion on top. Obviously 2-year-old filly. This is a first time starter for Alfredo Marquez. He's only had 3 runners at the meet and they haven't run very well, but of the horses that I've seen what they can do, obviously none of them are all that thrilling to me. So I'm going with the fresh face, I guess. The works are not great. I guess the last work on October 13th, going 49-2 out of the gate, is a little better than maybe some of the previous works. I always like to back Maldonado in races where I don't necessarily know who's going to get the lead because he's a very aggressive guy. I've said it quite a bit. I think Maldonado is one of the best guys out there at getting his horses to the lead. Obviously, we don't know who's going to get the lead. Could be the 6 who you've got on top. I'm hoping that this horse gets the lead just because this is not a good enough field to where they would be able to pass horses. So if Maldonado is able to get this horse to the lead, then you certainly got a shot because I don't think there's going to be a lot of passing going on. Last horse we'll touch on is the 4. You can comment on the 5 if you got anything, and then maybe touch on the 4, and we'll move on to a little bit of a better race.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say your point on the 5 is spot on. Edwin Maldonado, best gate rider we have out on the West Coast. So, yeah, with those babies, there's nobody better to get them out and get them forward. Maybe they're not showing speed in the mornings on those workouts, but, hey, that can all change with some intention from the jockey saddle. Yeah. And Edwin is one that's definitely going to have that intention going into the gate. Just to touch on the number 4, yeah, 12% first-time starter, first-time starting trainer. Adios Charlie's got a bit of speed. For your buddy OJ Harrigy. I don't know how you pronounce his name still.
I don't
apologize for that one. Well, that's good. That makes 2 of us. Yeah, Adios Charlie typically has some speed. I don't know, just a new face in here. I don't hate the breeding. Indian Charlie clearly all sprinting on top. And then, you have Curlin underneath, maybe a little bit of class, maybe a little bit of quality. I don't know. This horse costs $3,000 to make, and then 10,000 at the sale. So I don't know. Again, just a shot in the dark in a wide open field where there's nothing to go on. I will say though, this Carmona guy can ride. I've enjoyed seeing him ride out here. I should know where he just came from. But he's I want to say he's like a 36-year-old apprentice, but so he's kind of late in the game, but he can ride for sure. He had a good ride a couple weeks ago on, I believe, a Ryan Hansen horse. Maybe Mark Glatt, but anyway, yeah, he can ride. You can see he's slowly improving, and yeah, excited to see him, continue to have his tack out here. But again, not much to go on in this one.
Yeah, we always encourage new faces. Carmona, even though he's only 1 for 17 on the win end, he's got a lot of thirds, so his horses are running okay. Bug Boy gets the 5-pound weight break, maybe some ability in the breeding. If you're going with a fresh face angle with these quality of horses, I'm not going to talk you off that. So certainly one to consider in a race that could be definitely wide open. We're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going 5, 6, 7, and Ryan is going 6, 7, 4. We'll move on to the feature of the day. It is the race 8. It is 1 mile on the turf. It is the Lure Stakes. I should mention this is the second turf race we're talking about, but I forgot to mention the last. The rails are out 10 feet, so I should mention that. Could play a little bit towards speed. But anyway, in this Lure Stakes, we've got a field of 9. Morning line favorite, if I had to guess, probably all the way to the outside with the 9 SEAL team for Rispoli and Mandela coming off of that long layoff. I'll go ahead and switch the picks over. I am going with SEAL team. I'm going 9-3-1. Ryan's going 5-9-2. Ryan going with the 5 Exalted for JJ and Urton. The question with him, can he still run?
Yeah, it's a big question. It's a big question, but I love this horse at Santa Anita. Yeah, 7 years old, definitely going to be a little bit tested here. But I think the trip should fit and set up for him. You see, Drew ran a good, respectable 93 buyer last time in the Del Mar Mile. It's a grade 2. Drew post 10, had Diego Herrera on board. Nothing against him, but coming back to JJ Hernandez, that's clearly an upgrade. Guess Lasix, I don't know if that's going to make a huge difference or not, but more than anything, I think you're finally going to get a pretty decent price on a horse that is 4 for 4 at Santa Anita, 4 for 7 at the distance. All 4 of those wins, I believe, coming at Santa Anita, going this distance today. So I am excited to see that. I've loved this horse. This is a pretty strong opinion of mine. It's a pretty wide open race. You mentioned the 9 SEAL team, probably going to be your favorite. I think I agree. I might go with number 2, Mana Rose, just because of his form in general, and with how kind of dominant he's been in those wins. But SEAL team is definitely a horse I have interest in, as I picked him second. You picked him first. But yeah, I think Exalted. I think today's the day. If it's not today, it's no day for me. I'll sign the divorce papers officially. I'll call him old, whatever is necessary. But Peter Urton trained a winner today at Keeneland in Golden Eye. This horse has kind of, improved on his third off the layoff try, even though that was a 7th, beaten 3.5 lengths. He got the good 93 buyer against Conclude and Almendaris. So yeah, I'm right back in it. I'm ready.
Yeah.
I love the drills coming in too. The drills
Yeah.
coming in. This horse looks sharp.
Yeah, he does. I think you're spot on with the comment. If he doesn't get it done today, I don't know if he's ever going to get it done again. It's a little hard to see him getting back to that form. But if he does, it's going to be here at Santa Anita. Obviously, you mentioned 4 for 4, working well. JJ does hop back aboard. That Del Mar Mile has come back to be a pretty nice race. Had 2 next out winners when I showed the chart there. And then Almendaris came back and ran a nice second to Johannes last time in the City of Hope Mile, I believe. So the quality of what she's facing is still consistent. Just a matter of whether he can get back to that form that he showed maybe when he was 5 and 6. He's a 7-year-old now. I just noticed this too. Urton is 0 for 15 at California. It seems like we've seen a couple of these trainers, Urton, Baltus. There goes my phone. Sorry about that. Urton and Baltus, the ones that I've seen just kind of scrolling through, guys with goose eggs that you don't see. Is Georgie P just like stealing all their wins? What is going on?
Yeah, that must be the case. Or sometimes they kind of have to hit a little bit of a reset button. Leonard Powell right below him on Sarwar, 0 for 14. Someone would just kind of have to hit a reset button after Del Mar because they kind of gear everybody up, and then they all kind of tail off a little bit towards the end of the Del Mar meet or beginning of Santa Anita as they all kind of maybe aim for other places or, just kind of regroup and reset. But I think this is a good spot for Exalted. So I'll bet Peter Urton to get off the goose egg here. And, Peter Urton's no Miramati, the horse. So we got a shot.
Yeah. We'll continue with the 9 SEAL team. Obviously, I mentioned earlier coming off of that long layoff. We haven't seen him for almost a year now. And Mandela pretty good off of long layoffs. It just seems to me, and kind of why I have him on top, is Mandela's not going to bring him back off of a long layoff, kind of to get one under his belt. I feel like he's coming to win. He's not going to necessarily let his horses kind of get one to gain fitness. And even if they wanted to do that, it seems like they would maybe enter in a spot that's not so competitive. This lure is I would say a pretty good field for a listed stake. You got some graded stakes winners in here for sure. Just going to be a question of whether Rispoli can kind of navigate that outside post for me. Anything you got to add on SEAL team, you got in second, and then we can go into the 2 who looks to be the speed of the race.
Yeah, this horse, I believe if I have that date correctly, this is the undercard of the Breeders' Cup.
It was.
I mean, look at the 2nd and 3rd place finisher. Those are 1 to 5 shots in here.
Yeah.
If they were to be running, probably 1 to 9. 1 to 5 is too much of an overlay. That's Silver Knot for Appleby. Webslinger probably does his best work at Churchill, but whatever. Those are 2 very respectable efforts. Beat both of those horses by half a length. Yeah, high risk understands the running lines there. Mm-hmm. So definitely interesting. I think if this horse comes back ready, definitely going to fire a big shot. Definitely going to be a big threat to the winner's circle. The reason I couldn't pick this horse on top, I think is going to have too much work to do turning for home. And you mentioned the rails are going to be out 10 feet. I also think the mile might be a little sharp for him. He seemed to really thrive at the 1 1/8 when he's able to kind of get that late kick going. But again, if he shows up in top form, he is classier than these. He's a grade 2 winner, which there are some other graded stakes winners in here, but I don't know that any of those graded stakes winners have beaten the likes of Silver Knot or the likes of Webslinger. So for that reason, I did pick him kind of the best of the rest, but I have a pretty strong opinion in Exalted in here.
Yeah, you did mention the one concern I do have. Looks like he might be a little better at 9 furlongs and 8. So maybe he just doesn't quite get there. Hopefully with the 2 man in row, so you got in 3rd, and you can touch on a little bit before we move on to the last race, is going to heat things up a little bit. The time form projects him to be on the lead. I don't know why it says he has early time form of 62 and late of 61. That is not accurate. I'll go to the time form because it shows it kind of really small. He's got a 123, so he's going. It just depends for me whether Exalted and the 7 El Potente, who's coming off of a little bit of a break, is going to press him enough. But obviously, you think he's one to consider, maybe one to take him the whole way.
Yeah, so I'm thinking El Potente coming off that 59 work, going 5 furlongs off this layoff. I think his intentions are going to be going to the lead. He looks sharp coming in. So that was something that I couldn't lead me to pick Mana Rose on top. If El Potente wasn't in, or if El Potente scratches, that may change some things for me. But Mana Rose clearly going to go straight to the front. I just think Barrios could be intent on, getting El Potente out to the lead as well. And that might set it up for a horse like Exalted, who could sit a nice little pocket trip, going the mile here. But either way, yeah, Mana Rose is going to be dangerous. I mean, I think that's the field best buyer, 3 back on turf, going 104. That race was ridiculous. Obviously beat First Piece, who finished in 3rd there, and I know you're a big fan of that horse.
Yeah.
But this is the first time this horse is going to be going 2 turns on the turf. That's something that was cause for pause. Clearly handled the 2-turn test last time out at Los Alamitos, but that was on dirt with that really long stretch. Could have just, kind of faced better. You don't really see many A horses go to Los Al at that time of year, so I'm a little hesitant to see, and I don't want to take too short of a price on a horse doing something like that for the first time. So that led me to pick that horse 3rd, but I think this horse is a real threat, especially if El Potente and Exalted don't press up on the lead.
Yeah, what did you think about that race at Los Al? Because I thought it was really interesting. This horse had never been 2 turns before, and then they throw him in that listed stake. I wonder if that was a little bit of a paid workout to maybe see if he can get the 2 turns. Obviously, he won convincingly. That probably wasn't much of a field that day in the E.B. Johnston. But the 8-length victory was a 6-5 favorite, maybe just to test to see if he can get the 2 turns. And then, if Bowen's horses are as fit as he is, you definitely got to consider him. So certainly one to look at. I'll quickly mention the horses I have in 2nd and 3rd. Flashiest is a horse that I've chased way too many times. Of course, I didn't have him the one time that he wins 3 back on May 26th when he was 8-1. One that definitely needs some pace in front of him. Last time in the Del Mar Mile, we talked a little bit about that field. Conclude just kind of took him around the whole way, and there wasn't a lot of closing going on. So I think he's going to get a little more pace in here. The numbers 2 and 3 back certainly compete with this group. And then the one who's second off of that long layout from Mark Glatt and Freysu, he was one that I can give a little bit of an excuse to. He finished 5th in a race where the 3rd place finisher is a complete monster in Cabo Spirit, who came back and won that distance turf race a couple weeks ago at 30 odd, whatever it's a 1 or whatever he was. But I think you give him the excuse that was his first time against older tracks, the likes of Freysu, going to save ground on the rail like Santa Anita. Just one I thought to consider underneath. Any other horses we should mention before we move on to the last race?
I liked what you said. Number 4 horse was a horse I had considered a little bit just because I like the breeding and I like it, but there were a couple angles that I couldn't just quite, get behind here. I think this horse may just be kind of over the hump. The races last year were a little bit stronger than these, and I've mentioned my, I can't pick Mike Smith going the route on turf. It's just such a tough ask for me. But that being said, this horse does have some talent. This horse could get the right setup today. This horse has some good tactical speed. If Mike has some intention and sends this horse out to the lead, that's proven to be semi-successful. But ultimately, not having a win on the page dating back to March 5th of 2023, that was enough for me to, toss this horse out of my top 3 here. But I think that horse is interesting underneath at what might be a price. Yeah,
it's certainly a great betting race. I'm waiting for him to cut back again, maybe go down the hill, which he was very good at doing at one point in his career. We're going to go ahead and move on. This is another one where I don't know if the time form is necessarily correct, because this is like 50 buyer point or 50 time form points higher on the early side than the 2, which is completely incorrect. Hopefully DRF gets that fixed sooner than later, but we're going to go ahead and move on. I'm going 9-3-1. And Ryan is going 5-9-2 in the lure. We'll go ahead and move on to the last race of the day as I get this switched over. Race 9 here. Race 9 is a 6 furlong affair. Starter optional claiming 50,000 for fillies 2-year-old and 2-year-old. 2-year-old fillies. We got a field of 8 in here. Morning line favorite, if I had to guess, probably the one Don't Tell Tamo, Florida bred for JJ Hernandez and Paul Aguirre. I'll go ahead and get the picks switched over. I am going with the maybe morning line favorite, 165. Ryan is going 561. Ryan going with the 5 Princess Daddy. Horse that has got the job done on debut, has run against some tougher company, maybe facing a little bit of lesser company for Antonio Fresu and Hector Palma.
Yeah, another kind of a head scratcher of a race to wrap up this card here, but hey, that's kind of what the Saturday's turning into. So
Certainly.
I'm ready for it. I like the 57 buyer last time out. A little bit bossy. He's a talented horse, 1-2 straight, as you see in the running lines here. Coming back a little quick. We're on about 2 weeks rest here, but all that shows me is that this horse maybe just didn't take too much out of him. 40% with Fresu and Palma teaming up together with a $3 ROI. That's fantastic. Obviously 40% in any statistic with a decent sample size, and this one's out of 20 runners. I gotta respect that a little bit. So yeah, I'm just hoping this horse has some tactical speed, has experience going this distance, versus winners, which I think is important in a field like this. Has a pretty favorable draw, and I think if takes just even a minor step forward, about 5 points on the buyer scale, I think that's going to put this horse into the winner's circle. So that led me to take number 5, Princess Daddy, on top.
Yeah. I thought this one was a player. I've kind of seen a little bit of what she can do, which is why I'm maybe a little more inclined to go with the 1 and the 6, who you also have in the top 3. So we are thinking very similarly. The maiden breaker that you mentioned was only a 39 buyer, but again, this is not a great field. Something comparable to that 57 is, certainly could get the job done in here. Obviously, there's no world beaters in here, and like last time, if there's one to maybe sit that stalking trip, I know she kind of ran in place a little bit last time, but it looked like the intentions were there to kind of maybe sit off the speed. There is, or at least there looks to be, quite a bit of speed in here, and maybe another scenario where if somebody gets the lead, they could just take them the whole way. Interesting that Fresu does hop aboard. Hector Palma's got 2 wins out of his 7 starters for 29%. Certainly one to look at. I've got her in 3rd for those reasons. We'll go ahead and talk about the 1. I guess we'll go ahead and talk about the 1 who I've got on top. Don't Tell Tamo, Hernandez Aguirre. This is a horse that Aguirre actually claimed for 32 from Peter Urton. Kind of got to the lead in that race and kind of took him the whole way. Got pressed by Zoe's Candy, but I did like the way that she kind of fought back. I know with a maiden 32 claimer, there's not you're not expecting a ton of talent, but a horse that shows even a little bit of a heart at the low level like that, certainly one to consider. And you can see Don't Tell Tamo and Zoe's Candy were 9 clear of the rest. So obviously you don't necessarily know how good that field was, but they did kind of separate themselves and got into a little bit of a duel. And I do like the fact that Don't Tell Tamo in her first career start kind of showed that adversity. Anything you got to add here? Then we'll move on to the 6 and go into our best bets.
Yeah, no, I like your take on the 1. I certainly saw all the same things as we picked the same trifecta here, just in different orders. Yeah, Don't Tell Tamo, that was a game effort to dig in and win. First time out, you mentioned that level of company at maiden 32. That's not typically something that you expect to see. Typically, if you get headed at that level, you just kind of throw in the towel and you try again another day. But this horse really dug in, and I like the breeding. Buquero normally pretty good with those 2-year-olds, so maybe this might be another one of those races where you just kind of have to go off the breeding. There's some weirdly bred horse. We got a Florida bred in here. There's a New York bred in that other maiden claimer we went over, and I believe it's race 7. But yeah, I like the Buqueros. Rail was just a little bit of a negative for me, still being 2 years old. Gonna have to kind of dig in again, you would imagine. And this time probably with horses to the outside rather than Don't Tell Tamo being on the outside. So I'm curious to see how this horse reacts, but certainly certainly a horse that showed some talent.
Yeah, break's going to be big for her, and break's going to be big for this horse too. The 6 Iconic Memory. It seems like those 2 could be the 2 fastest in the race. Both of us got her in 2nd.
Yeah, I picked this horse in 2nd instead of Don't Tell Tamo because of the post draw. I think outside speed is going to be the helpful hand here. These are 2-year-olds. They don't have a whole lot of experience. With that, the draw here for the 6, that's going to be kind of projecting to get a clean trip going fast. Going fast at this level doesn't hurt. I'm definitely going to be 3 deep with these 3 here. It's tough to separate them. You mentioned, the 5, maybe we've seen the ceiling already. Even though we've only been through 3 starts, it's kind of shown the same thing. And then the 1 and the 6, those are going to be forwardly placed horses that had really strong debut efforts. So they're both going to need to step up here. But beat this horse, back to the number 6 now, beat a next out winner in their debut versus Open Company. So that's something that you can at least kind of hang your hat on as a vote of confidence. So that's something I like to see. That was the horse that got disqualified. I believe we talked about that horse a little earlier. I believe it was another horse that I think I picked 2nd or 3rd, but
the name is passed. Was it Venice Vibe maybe?
Yes, Venice Vibe.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll get to see how this horse runs coming second time out. Maybe a bit of a minor key race if Venice Vibe runs well, but you see in the running line as well, avoided trouble at the start. That was something that I looked at. We talked about the DQ earlier that affected Venice Vibe. It affected a lot of horses in here just because it was a bit hectic going on. So still managed to win that race. You see was kind of just out in front the entire time, but still had to avoid it a little bit. But yeah, 25% with the one last start, $3.17 ROI for Ian Kruljack. I believe a lot of that comes from the chosen Vron, but or that might be Eric actually. So yeah, 25%, $3.17 ROI. I'll take that. But yeah, so that was enough for me to pick this horse second.
Yeah, I not to say that this race was simple, but the way I kind of saw it was, either the 1 or the 6 breaks and kind of takes them the whole way, or if they both break and duel, I think maybe the 5 could be the one to sit off. Obviously, you're thinking similarly, so both of us have. I got 165. Ryan's got 561. So both of us have those 3 in the trifecta. I'll go ahead and we'll move on to best bets. Before we do that, there is a comment from Matt Miller that I would like to bring up. He says, thumbs up below the video player. Easy to forget to do that. Make sure you do that. I don't know exactly where it is. There's also, I think, a notification bell and a subscribe button. They're somewhere around here. You would know better than I would. But make sure you hit those. Like I mentioned earlier in the show, we got a lot of great content for the Breeders' Cup that is coming up, so you're not going to want to miss that. And Katie, of course, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Subscribe to Ryan's channel, of course. That would be much appreciated. We'll go ahead and move on to best bets. Start with you, Ryan, of course. You're going with an exact on race 6, 9 over 210, and then fast forward to race 8, a win bet on the 5 Exalted.
Yeah, that's I believe it's Crazy Cavaliers, the horse that we talked about in race 6, showing up for that sprint race again on turf, which is where this horse crossed the wire first and got DQ'd. Hoping that the sorry, it's up there. Thank you, Howard. But yeah, going that horse over the 2 and the 10. The 2 is the first time starter for Georgie P. The 10 is Prosper, Sadler, and Barrios. Hoping you just get a decent price. I'm hoping maybe 7-2 on that 9. That'll be enough for me to feel pretty confident. And then moving on to race number 8, probably my best play in the day is going to be Exalted. I'm playing this horse. I think today the setup, or not today, but Saturday, the setup is going to be right for this horse. Love Santa Anita is coming into good form off that 93 buyer in the grade 2. Faces a slightly easier field, with Almendares running second to the best turfer out on the West Coast and Johannes. So I'm hoping, the form of that race holds up a little bit. This horse is able to kind of stalk the pace, pounce on Mana Rose and El Patente as they kind of duel each other into submission, and that puts Exalted right in the winner's circle. Obviously, I couldn't feel confident with the best bet being a pick 5, but the 9 and the 5, I'm going to single those and just kind of spread everywhere else. Yeah,
no, I love the thought. As you'll see as I bring mine up, I agree 100% with the spots that you picked. I don't know if I 100% agree with the horses you went, but we're going to see who's right on Saturday. I went race 6 and race 8. Race 6 starting with a win on the number 1. I believe that name is passing me. Can you help me out here, Ryan?
Oh,
it is Caribbean King.
Caribbean King, yeah.
Caribbean King, the 1 in the 6th race, who I think just off the trainer switch alone, even though he is 0 for 14, a little bit of a fresh start there, cutting back in distance. Hopefully he can get the job done in a race that seemed to be pretty wide open. And then race 8, starting a double with the 9. That is Seal Team coming off that long layoff, and then trying to get it to either the 1 or the 6. Hopefully one of them just breaks and takes them the whole way. That's kind of my hope in that race. That is going to wrap things up for us.
Howard is
Ryan,
clowning in the chat right now.
what did he do? Let me. What did he? Oh, he said. I would hope that Howard agrees with the statement that the talent on this show is a little better than the talent and maybe race 7 and 9 that we just went over.
Yeah.
But with that being said, I guess I should bring this up. Check out our Breeders' Cup Power Picks tip sheet on the website, of course, HHHRacingPodcast.com. Like I mentioned earlier, Pete does a great job with that. He makes it really easy. If you're not familiar with technology, as some people are not, I know we have a little bit of an older demographic here, maybe not so much younger as much as we would like, of course. But makes it easy. You just got to click a banner up at the top, takes you right to it. I did check it out earlier, either yesterday or today. I believe it came out today. Checked it out. It's got results from our stuff last year, so you can kind of get a little bit of a glimpse of what we do. We're gonna have more information, especially with Ryan to help us out with covering some races. So it's gonna be really good. Sign up for that. Make sure you go do that, of course, at our website, HHHRacingPodcast.com. That is going to wrap things up on our end. Ryan, anything we need to mention? I guess one thing we should mention is maybe the slight incident that happened at Keeneland today. But for us bettors, it is very good because it causes a pick 6 carryover for tomorrow.
It does. It causes a pick 6 carryover. But yeah, I was just gonna pull up out of this conversation a little earlier. I thought we were maybe wrapped up, and then find out later that I guess it hadn't ended quite yet. Similar to what Luan Machado did.
Oh,
coming down the stretch. So I was ready to just get up and walk off, let you do the outro. I thought we finished at the first finish line, but
yeah, first finish line of the show.
All seriousness, yeah, that's a tough thing to watch. You got to feel for Luan for sure. But the more important question I have for Luan is where is next going to run in this Breeders' Cup, because they've got to make that decision coming up soon. I know he's the jockey, but yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one to watch. But hey, pick 6 carryover tomorrow at Keeneland. Play it.
Of course. You have to feel bad for the man, but you also have to thank him, because we could be one of those lucky winners that takes down the carryover pool tomorrow and the pick 6. Yeah, it was. I was there with my dad today. We were right on the apron, and we were probably 15 feet from that whole thing, and it was just. We didn't have anything to say. I mean, like, we just looked at each other and our jaws dropped. I mean, it was insane. And it's not like when I first saw it, I thought maybe there was some kind of issue and he was just pulling up because, maybe something happened. And obviously we want to be precautious. But then he like never looked to his right to see if anybody was coming. So, I mean, there's no other way. I don't even know what to say. It's just, it's still mind boggling. It's insane.
Did he have a physical reaction, anything, after he crossed the wire and realized that he had pulled up too early?
I don't know. I was trying to we had this discussion before. You're able to hear the announcer Kurt Becker from the apron, which I think you would probably be able to hear him from the track, because it's really not that much of a difference. But as a jockey, you're probably just so much in the zone, and you had mentioned, Luan he had kind of been struggling at the meet, and he's probably just thinking to himself, oh, finally, I'm on the board. I finally got a convincing winner. And that's going to be haunting him for quite some time. But yeah, that is that's on that note, we're going to wrap things up here on episode 4 of Pacific Horseplayers. For my wonderful co-host, Mr. Ryan Anderson, I am Noah Meagher. This has been episode 4, covering Santa Anita late pick 5 for Saturday, 10/19. Make sure to check us out next week. And make sure to check out Betting and Boozing that happened right before us, and to check out Picks and Ponies, who are covering Keeneland Saturday Pick 5 tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern. That's going to do it for us. Everyone, take care. PHP out.